supported. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to the stage CNN's Eleni Giokos and her panel. Over to you, Eleni. Thank you.
Thank you so much. A very good afternoon to everyone. I hope you're having a fantastic time. I certainly am. It has been incredible to hear all the insights, the passion, a lot of the data that is sort of going to be defining the next year in travel and tourism. And I have to say this again, I'm so delighted to be in Riyadh having these important conversations. We're going to be discussing inclusivity as well as job creation. It's a very broad theme, but there's a lot to discuss. We've heard a little bit from the previous panelists about jobs within the sector. Are people getting paid enough? Do people still want to work in the sector post-pandemic? I think we've all sort of recalibrated and thought very differently about our lives, and how do we create incentives for this very exciting industry? I'd like to welcome on stage my guests. I'm just going to take a seat while I call everyone up. I'd like to welcome His Excellency Nayef Hmeidi Mohammed Al-Fayez. He is the Minister of Antiquities and Tourism for Jordan. Sir, welcome. You can come and take a seat. Desiree Bollier, Chair and Chief Merchant at Value Retail. Matthew Upchurch, Founder at Virtuoso. Chiara Corazza, Member of Gender Equality Advisory Council for the G7. And we have Zubin Karkaria. He's the founder and CEO of VFS Global. A round of applause for my fantastic panelists this afternoon. Fantastic. Take a seat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think we all have a lot of experience after COVID struck. The demand destruction caused lots of small to medium-sized enterprises to fold. We saw many jobs in the hospitality industry completely upended. Airlines were grounded. I mean, the list, it goes on. We're sitting in a new reality where I, for one, have taken to the skies again, many people wanting to travel, whether it's business, whether it's leisure. And then we've seen massive gaps in the markets. There's been huge gaps in capacity and huge gaps in the jobs environment as well. We're going to be discussing these themes, plus importantly, inclusivity, what that looks like. I'm really interested in sort of exploring the value chain and how we can plug into that. Your Excellency, great to have you with us. I'm sad to say I still have not been to Jordan, but it's on my to-do list. Good to have you on. Your Excellency, you know, Jordan is one of those exciting destinations, and in fact, you've seen fantastic numbers, specifically from the region, visitors coming, whether they're going to Petra or other incredible destinations. Could you give me a sense of how the numbers are changing the value chain, right? So are you seeing capacity? Do people want to work in the sector? And what does the jobs environment look like for you?
Well, thank you very much for having us here, and it's been an exciting day today, hearing from all different experts and from both the public and private sector, and I think this is extremely important to hear and share the knowledge. You know, it's been an exciting time for us.
Can you just speak up a little? Yeah. There we go. Try again.
Okay, we'll try now.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an exciting couple of years. After we saw an increase of number of arrivals to our country, and we were expecting more and more over the coming years, we faced with the pandemic like the rest of the world. And this is where the shock came in. Everyone suffered, not only those who are the big players in the industry, but all the value chain around us. But if I look at it from one positive point of view, that gave or draw the attention to the importance of tourism, not only to those who are working in the tourism industry, but to the whole other entities that are supporting this.
Can you not hear? Okay.
You cannot hear me.
I think take off your mic and then just do a handheld like this.
Can I?
Yeah, I think
do
that's
this?
better. There we go.
Maybe that's okay. I'll start quickly.
Yes.
As we were recovering after the pandemic, or as we suffered because of the pandemic, we saw a good recovery in the last 7, 8 months. And that gave us hope of bringing back tourism. But not forgetting those who have suffered most. The value chain of tourism is not limited to those who are working directly in the tourism industry. It is also involving a lot of people. And most importantly, I think, are the local communities that are dependent on tourism. As we were talking to our colleagues before we walked in, talking about the importance of involving those local communities, not only involving them in terms of taking some of their services, but giving back to them and having them also being part of this value chain, not the big players. As we sat down today and we heard some of those big players talking about the progress and how they are going to be moving on. Positive messages came out of those talks in the last few hours, talking about how we need to take care of the employees. But it's not only the employees who are working directly with you. It is important to look at the people who are around you, who are supporting you in the value chain in different areas. Things are, as I said, looking positive, but we have to be cautious and careful. Yeah. We don't want to lose more people from the industry. We saw a lot of people who left the industry who are refusing today to come back. We saw those
because of the working conditions. They don't want to come back because of the working conditions?
Not because of the working conditions. Part of it could be because of the working conditions, but some of them saw the risk that they had to take. Yeah. Especially those who have invested everything. We know in our part of the world, we know a lot of people by their first child. So a lot of local communities have been known. You go and visit a local experience of so-and-so, the mother of so-and-so. Those small businesses that they have invested everything they have during the pandemic, they lost their businesses.
Yeah.
They were not able to regain back their businesses because they were not tools to support them.
Yeah.
The difference between someone who is employed in an institution, he was able to take care of his employees and maintain them. They were not. Yeah. You lost them. So bringing them back, and this is part of the experience that we were talking about throughout the sessions, the different sessions. Those people, bringing them back, this is the challenge today.
Yes.
How do I convince someone who has invested a small amount, and these are SMEs, small amount of money, but this is everything what he has. He has lost it during the pandemic. He was not able to get the support, and now it's important to bring him back and convince him, no, tourism will pay back.
It will pay back, but when it came down to it, no one was there to support him, and that is the important part of this. And Chiara, I want to bring you in here. Women were disproportionately impacted by the pandemic, specifically on the small to medium enterprises side of things. Women impacted quite significantly because of the demand destruction. Where are we right now? How would you define this space?
Thank you so much. I'm really delighted to be here in Saudi. And I think it's really the right place to talk about inclusion, and diversity, and of course, of sustainability. We are facing a multi-crisis. We are talking about a pandemic, yes, but we are over an energetic crisis, climate change crisis, security crisis, food crisis, financial crisis, inflation. We have to rethink a completely different system of tourism, and this I've really learned. And I'm really deeply convinced that women that are disproportionately impacted, it's true, can bring a huge added value, a huge contribution to reinvent, to redefine this system. I cannot imagine that we don't have in mind that tourism is sustainable and inclusive, or it's not. Because if we see the millenniums, they vote for their pockets. They want to go where they find what they expected. And if you don't think as the whole population thinks, that means women and men, you cannot feed the expectation of your customers, of your clients. I would just give you three numbers. First, if we had the equal representation of women and men in economic system from here to 2025, we would add 28 trillion at the global GDP. It's a question of justice, but as you see, it's an economical issue. And in tourism, we have 55% of women involved as a workforce, but we have only 20% of women in management and only 8% in top management. Then the first thing is to have more women in governance. Not because women are better than men, but because we bring a different perspective, we bring a different way of thinking. And again, when you know that 70%, 70% at least of the decision when you go on vacation are taken by women, your wives, your girls, they decide where we go, which kind of hotel we choose, which kind of activity we're doing, and how much we're spending. Then we should maybe, when we propose packages, when we propose, have in mind this. And for governance, we have some issues. We have some solutions. What I do in the G7 and G20, I really work to change the environment because public and private have to work hand in hand. Private sector cannot do anything. We have to be together to achieve things. And laws has to be done by states. Yeah. Just if you look at the countries that have quotas, we have more than 25% of women in governance. All the countries that don't have quotas have less. Europe just 10 days ago decided by decree that you have at least 30% of women in governance. It will change things because listed companies, the big groups that here, will be obliged to promote equally men and women. The second issue, we just said it before, it's not create jobs. There are not enough people who wants to work in hospitality. In Europe, we are faced with a great crisis after the COVID. Nobody wants more to have all the, how can I say, constraint. Then we need women because we need to hire other kind of people. And we need to be attractive to them, then have flexible work, work-life balance, try to make it as secure and comfortable for them to work them. Yeah. And some big groups do that.
Chiara, thank you so much. We'll touch on those issues in just a moment. I just want to bring Matthew in here. And Matthew, during a recent survey that Virtuoso conducted, it says that 74% of travelers, of your travelers on your platform, they're willing to pay more for travel sustainably if they know where their money is going. Could you break that number down for us?
Sure, I'd be happy to. First of all, I do specialize in the luxury experiential sector. Yeah. And what's been happening is something called the commoditization of quality. As quality has become better and better overall, and the differential between quality products becomes less, more consumers and travelers are starting to choose the product based on something other than the base quality that they're going to get, like values, like show me what you're doing that's good. So from that perspective, but on the perspective of, when we talk about sustainability, we started working on sustainability storytelling 15 years ago, and telling the story, putting the spotlight. It's not just about the environment, it is about local economies. It's about the people. That's as much about sustainability. Sorry.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. Yes, I'm here, yeah. I'm back. And people are asking those questions, saying what impact I'm going to have on the local economy. Yes. What are the people that I'm going to be engaged with? Do they work in a safe environment?
So this is what's happening. So first, I just want to try to be as simple as possible and break it down real quick. First, as a private enterprise, we thought we were really good on DEI. We've added the letter B. We think that adding B to DEI is super important because that is the ultimate human goal. It's belonging. Everybody wants to belong. Our own employees and management team, whatever, we thought we were good at it. We have now added it as a defining objective in our playbook because it's not good enough. So we've really started to measure it, benchmark it as a business. We feel that it does that. There's no other industry, quite frankly, that has actually more diversity than the travel and tourism industry. The sector, and why my particular passion is, we've heard it a lot over the last day and a half, the SME sector. So the SME sector already has more minorities, more women-owned businesses, whatever. And we as an industry need to do, and I'm very happy to say that, as just being elected vice chair of membership of WTTC, we are looking at the initiatives of our responsibility of how to help the resiliency of the SME sector actually be there. It's our responsibility to do that because that's where a lot of the diversity lies. And when you talk about attractiveness, sometimes we talk about going to work for a big corporation, which is great. A lot of them are great. But a huge part of the attractiveness of this is entrepreneurialism, right? And independence.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Desiree, great to have you with us. You know, when we're talking about inclusivity, you have to take a step back and look at the macro picture. You know, Matthew focuses on the luxury segment, for example. Most countries tell us that they want to focus on quality tourists that, you know, are high end. What about creating a more inclusive environment where you're targeting a lot more people? You know, the people that don't have that much to spend but really want to travel, and then trying to capture a bigger part of the value chain. Why is it every time I travel and speak to tourism experts, ministers, they want to capture the higher end? Why is that, you know? I mean, obviously they're spending more, but that's not very inclusive.
Okay, you're saying 3, 4 different things at the same time. First of all, why? Because luxury does pay.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that, it's mathematical. Luxury is really actually the best return on investment, right? It does not mean that it's not inclusive in its own way. Luxury really attracts a very, very diverse panel of people, but within a certain range of means, right? I think Matthew and the minister have alluded to 2 things, which are extremely important. SMEs. SMEs are really actually, travel is a tool of education for the young, right? Education is a very important part to start discovering cultures. And the youth, when they start traveling, it's a way for them to discover new cultures, new sense of belonging, new stories, and they break down their entire prejudice. SME is where they're going to go. These youth, right? These young people have a certain budget to travel with. And therefore, young, actually, entrepreneur in tourism that really have been bankrupt, it's sad to hear because they are the ones who are going to open their door for an entire generation discovering culture and travel within their own budget and means. And that's a way to be inclusive. And I really think I'm endorsing, and you know, Matthew's new initiative with WTTC, because if we could help these SMEs survive, thrive, we have a whole new young generation that could travel and start discovering the planet and break down the wall of prejudice.
Brilliantly said. Brilliantly said. Zubin, great to have you with us.
Thank you.
If anyone has ever applied for a visa, any kind of residency, anything to do with paperwork, you've probably done it through VFS. So I'm really honored to be here with the founder and CEO. You know, it's an incredible platform what you've been able to achieve. You've definitely taken friction out of our lives and government's lives, I have to say. What has your experience been? When I say inclusivity to you, what does that mean for you? Because I'm thinking skills development, because you've got quite a technical platform, and I'm thinking the type of people you hire across the thousands of offices you have, and how does that plug into what we're talking on?
Yeah, thank you very much. You've been very kind with your words. I think I will start with something that the Honorable Minister said about what did we do during the pandemic, you know, for our people. And I think something that we realized that, yes, you need to look after them financially. That's an important part. But what did we do mentally for them? Because that's where the gap was. And what we did was, across the 144 countries, over the last 24 months during the pandemic, we created around over 700 modules of engagement, which were online engagement with the people. So just, you know, it could be on upskilling, it could be something on cookery, it could be on anything, but just to keep them engaged and mentally, live in their minds. and just to make them feel good about themselves even when they're sitting at home, saying that, yes, this is going to end, how is it going to pan out? So just somebody to talk to. So this is something that we did. And when we talk about inclusiveness, we have 126 nationalities around in 144 countries of the world. It's various ways that you look at inclusivity. It also looks at empowerment. How are you empowering your people? So inclusivity is not only diversity or gender equality. We have over 60%, I think you have more, 60% women in our organization. Even in Saudi Arabia, we have been there from 2005. We have 800 staff. Out of that, 70% are Saudi nationals and 60% are women. So apart from gender diversity, apart from inclusiveness, what we also need to see is how we are empowering people, how are we, charting out their future careers in our what you call industry. I think they need some long-term initiatives, and I would say these are the small areas that we need to look at. And what I see in WTTC today, we have a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas, and if each one of us takes one and focuses on that, I think there will be a huge change.
Your Excellency, the Minister, I'd like to ask you this question. I think it's something that's on top of people's minds, especially when they travel to destinations that they not, would normally go to. And the question has come up a lot lately, and you'll sort of resonate with what I'm about to say. What should the travel and tourism sector do to make people from different races, religions, genders, sexual orientations, and with different disabilities feel welcome?
Well, I think if you want to enter into tourism, you have to be welcoming to tourists. But on the other side, also tourists, when they go into a new culture, they have to be accommodating also in somehow, not only as what they expect. There has to be, from both sides, a sense of understanding to each other. I give you an example of Jordan. Some of the most wonderful experiences, by the way, are not made in the hotels or the resorts. Some of the best experiences are from people while they're wandering, going to a destination, and somehow they stop somewhere in the middle of nowhere and they needed something. This is where they feel the welcoming of people. This is how people are treated. So when tourists come to a country, they're expecting to enjoy their experiences. But at the same time, I think it's a bridge between both. Not only the tourists coming to the country, but also for the locals who are understanding what the tourist is all about. Definitely, the locals are looking for a return on how much they can get out of this experience when people are coming spending in their countries. I guess
the question is, and I'm sorry to interject because we're running out of time, if I can't wear my shirt with a rainbow on it and I'm going to be asked to take it off, why should I choose to come to your destination?
Well, again, I think...
I'm giving an example. I'm not saying Jordan in particular. I'm saying generally, hypothetically speaking.
Listen, you are wearing whatever you wear when you come to a country. But when I go to the beach, I'm expected to wear what I wear on the beach. When I go to a religious place, I'm expected to wear what I wear in that religious place. When I go to skiing, I'm expected to wear what I have to wear. It's not about a specific thing. Today, if you are wearing a rainbow shirt in a lot of countries, by the way, it doesn't mean anything to many people. Yeah. It's just a t-shirt, nice for them. They would not understand it. If you make a big fuss about it, then it becomes an issue that could be not only in touristic places, anywhere in the world. You could stand in the middle of Times Square and open that, and you'll have both views. So is it the right platform to discuss such thing? You're not going there to discuss, you're going there to enjoy. No one is going to judge you for your religion, for your race, for your behavior. But at the same time, when you go there, you're expected to somehow be catered to that place where you go to.
And respectful, right, to the cultures.
Again,
of those
I gave you the examples. It's when you go. I went as a tourist to many places as a child. We used to wear shorts, and we would enter to a church. they will ask us politely to put something around us to be able to enter to, and I'm a male wearing short. I understand, I have to respect that. And again, once I go out, I wear my short again. And,
it's very true. I mean, I was asked to also cover my shoulders when I went to a church in Rome actually once. So, you know, and it happens all over the place. It's about being respectful, like you say. 1 minute, okay, very quickly, each of you. We're going to speed through this. What are you expecting? Inclusivity, job creation. Let's start with you, Matthew.
What do we expect? I'm sorry.
Inclusivity, job creation in the future. In the next year, what are the trends?
Well, I think it's actually very simple. I feel that after the pandemic that we've been going through, there's going to be a major bifurcation between those enterprises that really get employee engagement and people engagement right, and that includes inclusivity and belonging, and those who don't. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to see a real kind of polarization between those enterprises that get this right, whether you're a destination, a private enterprise, or whatever.
Sure.
I think that the World Travel Tourism Council could take as idea to diversify the supply chain. If you want to help entrepreneurs, women, small and medium businesses, public procurement and private procurement could be a very powerful tool if you give them access. 242 million women own their businesses, but have accessed less than 1% of public and private procurement. In tourism, it's a great opportunity to do. And secondly, I would like that maybe we really put the input in STEM education. Here you told that here in Saudi, 80% of young women want to study engineers, and they're already 60%. And this is the job of the future. If you want to make a nice position and contribute in the world travel or in other works, you need to have STEM education. And let's attract girls and women in that.
Fantastic. Zubin.
I think since we are in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and we have seen, you know, this has been like a buzzing place, like a beehive, I would say, you know, today. I have already initiated two things that we are going to do. We have spoken to Her Excellency, Her Highness, about how will we help with the Trailblazers program. You know, what they're doing with 100,000, what we call Saudi nationals every year, that we could train and deploy them across 144 countries in the world. And the other is, for our Saudi operations, we will train 100 Saudi nationals every year and also deploy them across the globe. So that's what, you know, it's an action item that I've taken from WTTC here.
Desiree.
Strong culture as an organization, and really building that culture as a mindset in our entire organization, so we could really do profit, but profit decently.
Fantastic. And Your Excellency, Minister, and with you?
Well, definitely like to see a lot of our programs that we created for youth and women being the future map of tourism, not only locally but globally.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for my fantastic panelists. Thank you so much for your insights.